Hi, this is Boone, and today I'd like to show you my delivery tracking app. So this app is designed for delivery drivers, such as UPS drivers, FedEx drivers, Amazon drivers. And what it does is that it helps drivers track their statistics. So I got this idea by working in UPS as a driver's assistant. So in this job, what I had to do was basically I had to help them scan the number of boxes and to be able to count the boxes. And what I did afterwards was be able to send all that information to my supervisor. So I felt that this was a really inefficient way of doing my job. And I felt that there's a lot easier process by having an app that does all that work for me. Another inspiration I got from this idea was by using the Strava app. And Strava is basically an application where it helps people track their fitness statistics. So for example, if you're running or if you're cycling, the Strava app can help you track how long it took you to run or how long it took you to cycle. And it can also help you track other statistics like, for example, the duration, the distance, as well as your the heart rate. And with this data, you can use that to analyze your health. So the whole idea of the project was basically merge these two ideas together and to create an application where it helps drivers find ways to track the statistics, and it can help with the statistics. They can help improve the efficiency of drivers in the shipping industry. So here is my class diagram, and it first starts off with login view controller, where when the user opens the application, this is where it shows the login page. And if the user doesn't have an account, the user can go to the sign up page over here where he's able to type his first name, last name, password, and email address and be able to create an account. So once the user has signed up and logged in to the application, he'll be sent into the home page, which is the home view controller over here. And in the home view controller, the user can see his total amount of mileage as well as his total amount of deliveries. The cool thing about the homepage is that there is a tab bar where it allows you to navigate to other views, such as the record view controller and the profile view controller. So in the record view controller, this is the place where the user is able to record his data. And the profile view controller is a place where the user is able to update his profile information, such as changing his profile picture or changing his name. So let's say the user goes to the home page and he decides that he wants to record his statistics. So he'll click on the record button and it will lead him to the record view controller. And once he has driven and he has recorded his time and his other statistics, it will bring him to the result view controller. And this is where the user is able to view all his statistics, like how long it took him to drive, what's the amount of his deliveries. And once the user has seen his results, it will bring him back to the home view controller, which is the home page. There is another class called the user class where it tracks the user's email, password, user ID, first name, and last name. And all this information is stored in Firebase, which is basically the model of our application. So here is the MVC diagram for this project. So in this MVC diagram, we have the view where this is the place where the user is able to see all the UI and all the view controllers. So for example, the user can see the home page, the user can see the profile page, the record page, and be able to view his statistics. The user through the view is able to interact with the view and be able to send information to the controller. So the controller is a place where it handles all that interaction between the view and be able to fetch statistics from the view as well as the database. So the control, what it does is that it can retrieve the driver statistics from the database. It can send data to the database. It can fetch data from fetch interactions from the view and be able to send that to the database. And this is basically where the controller is the one that's responsible for the logic of the application. So moving on to the view, to the model. The model is, in this model, I use Firebase as my database to store all my information. So in my Firebase, I can store the user's profile and the user information, such as his email, password, username, and this is all stored in the cloud. So some of the capabilities of this product. So one, the user is able to log into his own account. So every person who is able to create their own account and go to log into an account where they can see their own statistics and their own information. And in order to do that, I use a platform called Firebase, and it's a database where you can access data online. Another feature of my app is that you can track the duration of driving hours. So the driver, this is really useful because the driver can record how long it took him to drive and deliver his goods. Because there are some days where the drivers are really busy and they'll be driving long hours, and there are some days where there's not much deliveries and the driver will be driving short hours. So this information is really useful for the driver to know which days of the week is he busy and which days of the week is he not busy, by being able to track that down. Another useful feature that the app has is that the driver is able to track the number of deliveries. And this helps the drivers know which days are there more deliveries and which days are there have less deliveries. So one useful feature is that my app has a tab bar where the user is able to navigate from the home page to the recorded page to the profile page, where the user is able to change his name, update his profile picture and his information. So my app does have some limitations. So some of the limitations is that this app does not work if the drivers do not have access to Wi-Fi, because it requires you to log in order to use the app. So there will be scenarios where perhaps the drivers are in a location where there is just no data available. And because of that, he's unable to do his job. Another limitation of this app is that the driver has to manually track the number of deliveries by pressing the add delivery button. And this might be very troublesome and annoying to the drivers, because drivers are really busy having to drive and having to carry and deliver packages to the customer. And they might forget to press the add button. And if they forget to do that, perhaps the data will be inaccurate. Another limitation to this product is that the driver is unable to track. Currently, the track mouse feature is not implemented. So the driver is unable to view how long has he driven, the distance he has driven. And I feel like this detail is actually a really useful detail for the driver, because the driver will know how long it took him to drive. And for the driver supervisor, if he can see the mileage, he's able to plan better routes for the driver. Last but not least, a limitation of this app is that the user cannot log out of this app, and this feature is not yet implemented. And which in terms of security, it's not really good, because anyone can have access to your app if you don't log out. So one of the lessons learned from my app. So one of the lessons I learned is Firebase. I learned how to be able to use through like creating the login page. I could add data online on the Firebase. Another lesson I learned was the horizontal and vertical stack view. I feel like this was a really cool feature I learned from this application, designing the UI of the application, because it helps you organize your labels and buttons in a really organized way. Just by dragging all the labels and buttons, you can just drag it inside a stack view, and it just does all the work for you by organizing horizontally or vertically. And this makes your design really neat and tidy. Another lesson I learned was time management. So there was a lot of features that I want to implement from this application, but because of perhaps not managing my time properly, I wasn't able to implement everything I hoped to implement. So with better time management, I hope that I could implement a lot more features that I hope for this app. So here are some suggestions for this class. So one suggestion is that perhaps we could do a group project for our final project, because For our apps are really time consuming. It takes a long time to design an app. And sometimes like because of its time consuming, we might not have the time to implement all the features we hope for. So by doing a group project, there'll be our app would have way more features and there's a lot more things we can do on an app. But by having it as individual, that will still be fine because that way you can still have more experience by basically developing everything. But I'm fine with either idea. But another suggestion is that we should be able to learn more about horizontal and vertical stack views. And I feel that this feature is really useful on Xcode because it helps you to design UI more efficiently and neat. And last but not least, a suggestion is to be able to learn how to configure our app for all iPhone devices. And I feel like this is really important because sometimes when I'm designing an app, it only works on one device, for example, an iPhone 11. But when I run it on an iPhone 8 or iPhone like 7, my app will look different. So if we could learn how to configure our app for all devices, this will be really helpful for our app so it'll work efficiently and smoothly. Thank you for watching.